awesome. We see a whole bunch of stuff in here. We see some fonts. We see some CSS. Less and SCSS, I don't know what those mean. I'm not going to worry about those right now. Let's get our project folder open. I'm going to do that this way. Open space dot. I already have a CSS folder that has app and foundation in it, right? CSS folder up here has font awesome CSS and font awesome.min.css. And we learned the difference between those two. We really only need one or the other for our purposes. Not a big deal to just use the minimized version, so let's do it. I'm going to copy that over. I'm holding down Option as I drag to copy instead of move. And there's a fonts folder, which has all this stuff. I'm guessing that's important. So I'm just going to drag that whole folder into mine. Now all I need to do to use these is put a reference to that style sheet up here. Let's look. Inside CSS, we now have Font Awesome. I'm going to right click on that and say copy path. I'm going to put this above my personal app CSS. Link, rel style sheet, href. I'm going to paste that path. Now that did my whole darn path, which is a little excessive. So I'm going to get rid of everything before CSS. CSS/fontawesome.min.css. Now just to make sure I got that part right, I'm going to go over here, refresh my page. Look at the console. There are no errors. Let's look at the Sources tab. And we can see that fontawesome.min.css is now one of our sources. Very good. Now, how do we use it? That style sheet defines the Font Awesome font, loads it, and adds a bunch of rules for some classes. So if we give something a class of FA for Font Awesome, that's going to include a style rule that says this thing should be the font Awesome. And then we'll give it an additional class to tell it which icon. So for remove, let's see. We probably have something appropriate. Let's search the icons for, say, trash. Oh, yeah. We got trash. We got all kinds of trash. Trash, trash O. Trash seems a little heavy. I like trash O. Look, it even suggests some related ones, like ban, minus, circle, minus. I like trash O. So let's find that button. That's the remove button, right? And inside there, instead of the word remove, I'm going to add an I element. Now, I used to just mean italics, but the fact is I has no semantic meaning. So I can make it stand for icon. That's what most people do when they use Font Awesome. So let's give it a class of FA. That tells it use Font Awesome. And then FA-trash-O tells it which icon to use. Save it, see if we did it right. Refresh. Oh yeah, little trash can. I like it. What do you think? Yes. Is it cheating? If it is, I am a terrible, terrible cheater. If someone hires you to make them a bunch of custom icons and you use Font Awesome, then yes, you're cheating. If you're just trying to make something that looks okay, no, it's not. It's freely available. Looks like it kind of screwed up my my promote thing there. So promote. What can we use for that? Is there a star or something? Ooh, star, star O. Half star. Ooh, half star where you see the empty half, half star where you don't see the empty half. Look at all these. This is great. Choose one of the stars. We want the outline of a star or a solid star. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so inside here, instead of the word promote, I'm going to put an I class equals FA, space for another class, FA star O. And I, by the way, is not an empty element. You do need a corresponding closing tag, since I wrote this out by hand. What do you think? You like it? Yeah, come on. Let's try just star. It's off center in there. Turbo. Yeah, they're both off. Let's have a look at them. Inspect. Oh man, look at all those rules. Holy smokes. It does all kinds of crazy things. Let's look at the actual button. Button. Okay. Displaying like block width, margin right, margin bottom, font size, blah blah blah. Outline, blah blah blah. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at the actual button. No, so that's kind of like our trick with the border. So when they're, notice that, let's see, where's the margin actually come from? It's like margin right 1 pixel is on this one, which applies to the first child, nth last child 2, so second from the last. Looks like there's some complicated rules around those margins. But it does look like they're both kind of off. They're just a little too far to the right, aren't they? Do we have any of our own custom rules applied to these? Doesn't look like it. What if these weren't buttons? What if these were links? Any better? Why'd they go away? Oh, correct. Not just by class. So I'll, for the moment, just temporarily change these. So our looks like our local storage got screwed up. So we'll say local storage clear. Recursive null. So yeah, that's okay. But notice when we load, we don't bother to check whether there's actually anything in local storage, do we? So we have roster string here. Maybe we need to check whether roster string is anything before we try to parse it. Or maybe just, well, it looks like we got that far without an error. Oh, no, we didn't. That's where we had an error. So let's refresh again. Okay, that error goes away. Now we can add things again. Yeah, they're still off. So this change though we need, because that was actually an error. If there was nothing in there, we had a problem when we tried to load it from local storage. So where we said a.remove, we'll change that back to a button. I could troubleshoot this, but the way I did it at home beforehand, I didn't have this problem. So I feel like it's something small that's going to take way too long to track down, and we could use our time better. So when I figure this out, I will push up the change and probably say something in Slack, okay? So let's not worry about it just yet. But overall, it's considerably better looking than it was. Now this thing is still not vertically centered, which kind of bothers me. There are a lot of tricks for vertically centering things. They're all kind of terrible, except for one, but we're not going to get into that one just yet. One we can play with is line height. Of an element. So what if I do, now that I've done this, what if I do set the height of the LI itself? Will that screw things up? So you can fiddle with the CSS right here in the DevTools. You can change one of these existing rules, or you can just edit that one elements style right here. I'm going to see what happens if I do manually set the height of this right now back to 4 rem. Okay, that's okay. It doesn't give it this hideous thing on the bottom, right? It doesn't make it too tall. So I'm going to go ahead and manually set the height. And then maybe my student name can have a line height. Let's see if that does anything for us. So here's that span. What if I give this span a line height, which is sort of the height of a single line of text? It's about 40 pixels. 40 pixels. That's really, really close to centered. I only did it to the top one, right? I only modified this one thing live in the DevTools here. I'm going to stick with that for now. App CSS. So I gave student an explicit height of what, 4 rem. Then I wanted to change all the student name spans. So I'm going to put this down here, span.student name, a line height of 40 pixels. Don't forget the semicolon. Refresh, and now they all do that. All right. Yes. Let's have a look. Make it skinny. Seems legit. Mm-hmm. Now, at a certain point, it'll depend on the length of the name, right? I had a really long name. Ooh. Real bad, right? What can we do about that? Well, first of all, let's say on the student name span, white space, no wrap. What that means is never break onto the next line. So let's refresh. Okay, now it's at least not doing that, but it's still running into this and pushing it down. So maybe we could specify the width of this thing and say that if it gets past a certain point, we're going to hide it. So how big is that going to be? How can we possibly know? Basically, it should be no wider than the width of this thing minus the width of the button group. How do we know what the width of the button group is, though? Well, this isn't something that's going to hold up over time super well, but let's just look at it right now. And see, okay, it happens to be like 81.3 pixels. Let's see what about each button. Let's see if each button has a particular width. Okay, 50% minus 1 pixel. 50% of its container. But its container we saw didn't have an explicit width. So right now, like 82 pixels is an okay guess, but then there's the padding and all this stuff. Point is, I want the width of this thing minus something. Minus the space that everything else takes out. And I don't feel like counting right now, so I'm gonna try playing around with it. So let's say the student name span. As long as I made that, it's still maybe not quite as long as I need to test this properly. Okay, very long. Let's inspect this. Now we have the no wrap rule on there. Let's also say max width. And we don't know how many pixels because it depends on the width of their window, right? So let's say we do know that there's some pixel amount that if it's the width of this thing minus that, that should be about right. So there's this nifty little calc function in CSS. So we can say calculate 100%, which is 100% not of the whole page, but of its container, which is the LI, right? Minus 110 pixels. And then we need to say, what if the text in here runs over? So we can say overflow. Overflow X would be overrun in just that direction, and that's the only thing we have. So let's just say overflow X hidden. So just go away if it goes wider than that. It doesn't seem like that's doing anything at all. If we say explicitly width equals that, still not doing it. What if we say width 100% overflow X hidden? If you say width 40 pixels, okay, I'm doing something wrong. Usually you kind of need to set overflow on the parent. Once again, I could get this in just a few minutes, but we have other fish to fry. So I'm not going to worry about this one right now. Long names will look bad on narrow windows. I will fix it, and I'll show you the fix. But for right now, I'm just not going to worry about it because we have too many features to add. I think I know how I do it, but I don't want to waste the time doing it just in case I'm wrong. So let's see. I have uncommitted stuff. We added font awesome and we tweaked the styles a little more. The main thing we did, add font awesome. Or font awesome. I don't know how they style that.